Proposition 308 would allow undocumented Arizona students or Dreamers to receive in-state college tuition if the student has attended school in Arizona for 2 years and graduated from a public, private, or home school in the state. Joining us now to debate the merits of Prop 308, we welcome Reyna Montoya, founder of Aliento, which supports the measure, and State Senator Michelle Ugenti-Rita, who is against Proposition 308. Good to have you both here. Thank you for joining us. Reyna, we'll start with you. Why is this needed for Arizona?
There is about 2,000 Dreamers just like me who graduated from our elementary schools, high schools, and embraced our state, and we're losing talent. This is a great opportunity for Arizona, not only to have educated workforce that we know that supports us, all of us, not only Dreamers, but it also provides a great return of investment. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the basics. It's about fairness and giving a pathway for education to ensure that Dreamers, just like any other kids where we went to the same schools, have an opportunity to get educated.
And Michelle, should students who live here, have lived here, should they not qualify for in-state tuition?
No, not at all. They're here illegally. And while I very much sympathize with so-called Dreamers or individuals through no fault of their own have been brought to this country, the reality is their immigration status does not qualify them for in-state tuition. And I think this is putting the cart before the horse. It's really not dealing with the issue. The issue is their immigration status, and that needs to be the focus. This is something that isn't going to fix the problem, and voters should vote no on Proposition 308.
For the idea that an educated workforce is a good workforce, it's good for business, it's good for the economy, it's good for everything. How do you respond to that? If these kids are educated, they're graduates, they could go to college if they so choose, how do you respond in the fact that without that in-state tuition, most of them aren't going to go?
Well, I don't know that to be true. You don't know that most of them would not attend college. They can attend college. They're just not getting the benefit of in-state tuition. And it's hard to offer someone who's here illegally a benefit that a person or a kid in a different state would not be able to be eligible for. The reality is this is an immigration issue, and we should not conflate it with an economic issue or a workforce development issue. We need to concentrate on the problem. The problem is their immigration status. That's a federal issue, and the focus should be resolving that. And if and when that's resolved, this would become moot, because if they were citizens, then they would qualify for in-state tuition.
Again, Reyna, should a non-U.S. citizen get this benefit?
I think at the end of the day, we have to answer the fundamental question. These are Arizona kids who grew up in the same schools, who went to Little League and played the same sports. We have been paying taxes. Our parents have been paying taxes. So it's about education and opportunities. At the end of the day, we're not asking for a handout. We are asking for an opportunity to continue our educational goals. And I think the Arizona voters should ask themselves, if students are not going to go to school and continue to pursue, what are we going to do? Are we okay with that? And at the end of the day, this is in the powers of Arizona voters, and they should see the merits of the policy. And that states, there's 22 states that have already enacted policies like that. And it's not about an immigration matter, but about education and ensuring that that the people who have grew up in that state have that opportunity.
Again, not about immigration, it's about education.
No, it's not. It's an immigration issue, and we're not focusing on it. And it's inappropriate to ask voters to weigh in on something that's not going to fix the problem. The issue with, this population here in this country illegally is their status, and we should focus on that, and then this will all fall into place, and this won't be an issue. Furthermore, voters have weighed in. In 2006, they weighed in, and they overwhelmingly supported not giving illegal immigrants in-state tuition.
So when proponents say we need a more trained and educated workforce, we need more teachers, we need more lawyers, engineers, we need people that go to state universities, these state universities, not out-of-state or other places, but these state universities to stay here and work, you're saying yes, but that's beside the point?
Because that's not the point. This is an immigration issue. And if you have business coalition leaders that believe that this population is deserving of a discount in tuition, then they can put their money where their mouth is and set up scholarships to backfill the delta between an out-of-state and in-state tuition price, but I don't see them doing that. It's not like they can't pursue higher ed. They're just not getting it at an in-state tuition price. You really need to be a citizen. And if you fix the citizenship issue, like I keep saying, this will be moot. But to suggest that this is anything other than an immigration issue is really not dealing with the problem in front of you.
Let's get back to the actual proposition and the idea that 2 years of being in school in Arizona, being a high school graduate, is the 2-year bar too low? Some critics say that also it'll just simply cost too much to the state. That's one of the reasons why Prop 300, as Michelle referred to, that's one of the reasons that was passed so many years ago, was the cost to the state. Should that be a factor to be considered?
The reality is that SCR 1044, that is now Prop 308, passed with bipartisan support, with both of the education committee's chairs in the Senate and in the House supporting this measure. Why? Because the numbers don't lie. Every time that we have someone like me graduating with a bachelor's degree, we're paying it forward to our state rather than leaving. And if you look about the calculations, every graduate that graduates with at least a bachelor's degree, it's $600,000 of return of investment. So I think that that's why you really need to be able to see education as an investment. Already Arizona's have, because of a Supreme Court case, they have already supported our K through 12 education because this is a constitutional right. So then now let's continue to really galvanize on that investment and see the long picture to retain our talent here so they're not going to Harvard and they're not leaving our state.
What would you have these students do?
Well, they can pay out-of-state tuition, or they can work on their immigration status. A couple of things. The bipartisan support, I'd hardly call that. They had to override the Speaker in the House and use a procedural maneuver to get this bill to the floor. It was very controversial. It was voted out with all Democrats and a few rhinos. So it's hardly indicative of a bipartisan.
But you know how that works, Michelle. You know, you get one vote from the other side, and all of a sudden the other side says it's bipartisan. We've heard that many times before.
Yeah, but to suggest that this was this big kumbaya bill and everybody wanted to see it pass is not accurate. That's why they had to use the deceptive procedures they did in the House to get it to the floor. So that's number one. Number two, the voters have already said that they do not want to offer this benefit to this population. And number three, you can still go to school. I mean, it's not higher ed is not a constitutional right.
No, but when you say that this is an immigration issue and it's not an education issue, there are education components here, and there is an educational fallout, is there not? And when you say you can go to college, I mean, I'm just trying to get to a more realistic aspect here. Do you think realistically that kids that were brought here by people who are undocumented and who themselves are undocumented, do you think they have the financial resources to go to a Harvard or go to out-of-state school?
I think a lot of people do not have the financial resources, regardless of your immigration status. This question is about, and this conversation is about this initiative. And I think a better use of people's time and resources, if you care about this, would be to go to Washington, where you have the presidency and Congress, and look to push through reforms that deal with this in a much more holistic fashion. Until that is done, this is just Band-Aids, and it's not going to really solve the issue. It doesn't matter how many benefits you get. It's citizenship that you're after. Is it not?
Is citizenship what you're after here as opposed to an education?
This has nothing to do with Prop 308, even though that I agree with the senator that there's things that need to happen at the federal level. In-state tuition is a state matter. States have the power to decide how do they want to calculate their in-state tuition regulations. And what happened in 2006 has been more than 15 years. If you look at our high school population, our first 9th graders right now were born in 2006 and 2007. So this is a great opportunity for our Arizona voters to decide whether to provide in-state tuition for dreamers like me, who were just asking for fairness and to be treated just like our peers.
For the other side that says fairness also includes people that are paying out-of-state tuition and are American citizens, as opposed to folks who are here, not American citizens, and want that in-state tuition. Do you see the fairness argument there?
Definitely, and I think what it's really important to say is that they have that choice. Let's say, for example, if someone from California wants to pay in-state tuition, they can go to California universities and acquire that. We're asking for Arizona Dreamers to have in-state tuition in the state where they've been paying it forward and they have been growing up.
Okay, last point here, last question. It's the idea that it's only right. It's the right thing to do to allow these kids who are living here, graduating from our high schools, to have in-state tuition. How do you respond?
It's not the right thing to do. It's the wrong thing to do, and it's not going to fix our broken immigration system.
And the last question for you, could this be considered, as some say, a magnet for additional illegal immigration?
I want you to think about the data. There's 22 states that haven't shown no record that this is a magnet for immigration. And I want you to close your eyes, and if you're an Arizona voter, imagine if you were in my shoes. I am sitting here in front of you with 2 bachelor's degrees from Arizona State University, a master's in education, and a certificate of Harvard. I made a choice to stay in Arizona because this is home.
We got to wrap it up right there. Reyna Montoya, Senator Michelle Ugenti, Rita, good to have you both here. Good conversation.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.